Okay, so this is my antihero tee. On the front, near the bottom, there is a picture of Malcolm X in his earlier years. I believe when he was known as Detroit Red, his hair was or his hair was straightened. He chemically straightened his hair, and he was a hustler and gambler, and he just wasn't really known for what he is known as for now at this time. Um, And then near the top, it's another picture of Malcolm X, like way later in his life. I believe at this time he was devoted to the Nation of Islam, and his hair was cut all the way cut. It was pretty much bald. It was bald, and I believe he was arrested at that time for protest. And in the middle, there are pictures of Malcolm X, or no, picture of Malcolm X's fingerprints. And I guess those were the ones that were taken. And the main reason I put that in those in the middle are because these are his these are his two different identities that he was known as at the time. And in the middle, it's just your fingerprints are very specific to you. Your fingerprints are unique, and those just it's just all of his identities that have eventually made him who he was, which is very important. Um, Over in the middle, in between those two pictures of him in his mugshot and the fingerprints, there's the X's. Those are his X's, like the specific design used whenever like Malcolm X merch was made in the 90s. And in the middle, there is the word anti-hero, which is very significant and very important. Um, for me, an anti-hero is described as someone that gets the job done, someone that helps others, but not in a very, I guess, PG way. He's somebody that does work, but it's like in my eyes, it's like more humanized and less conventional than the damsel in distress, helping a lady across the street, Superman routine that we're all pretty much described as what a hero truly is. The Jack Sparrows and Deadpools of the world, the ones that you believe have little to no business trying to, I guess, help others, but they end up surprising you and helping a lot. In my opinion, like Malcolm X embodies this specific definition in my eyes wholeheartedly. Throughout most of his earlier years, he was known as Detroit Red. He was a hustler, a gambler. He lived his life like on the streets. He was selling drugs, hustling with other people. Throughout most of his earlier life, he just didn't really he wasn't really working on a straight path. But after he was incarcerated for a long period, I think he met a man that introduced him to Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. And after he was initially he met this man, he talked to this man for a long period of time, and while he was incarcerated, he eventually devoted himself to the Nation of Islam because he had nowhere to go. Most of the hustling and gambling activities that he made were kind of shut down, and he was just at the bottom. He didn't really know where to go from there. He had nowhere to go. So I guess he decided to devote himself to this in order to give him something, in order to motivate himself and push himself and do something that I guess was more positive. Through his specific devotion, he helped break boundaries for so many people, so many African American people in general, helping people see things in a different light. But near his earlier times in the Nation of Islam, he was very violent in a lot of his activities. He was believing some of the propaganda that Elijah Muhammad had fed him, and it was a Nation of Islam. It was the Nation of Islam, not actual somebody that is like the Nation of Islam and somebody that is a Muslim. And through a lot of his time, the Nation of Islam fed him specific information that just wasn't very true. But throughout this, he pursued and he kept on fighting and he kept on helping others. And he eventually was, I guess, enlightened into the proper aspects of like the Muslim religion. And he may have been somebody that you suspected, or maybe been the last person that you suspected to create change and help others. He essentially was a statistic in the beginning of his life because he was a hustler, a gambler, and a black person in his specific time period throughout And even though his methods in order to help others in general weren't very conventional at all, he was the person that I believe that we needed in order to help society and push specific boundaries forward and help break boundaries for a lot of people. And he was the one that devoted like himself to us in order to create change. Thank you.